Chrissy at Nin in the Heights, and today is August 4th. Welcome to my Vlogust episode 4, I guess. So today I was a bit under the weather. I'm really hoping it's just allergies. The wind's been blowing a lot. There's been a lot of seasonal allergies. Sorry, I'm tired after a long day. So I'm really hoping that's what it is. I did stay home from work today. I worked from home. I had a ton of phone calls with some of our artistic partners and school principals. So it made sense anyway for me to do some of that from home. But today I just didn't get any footage out and about in New York City because I just didn't really go out except to grab my son Gabriel from his aftercare program in Inwood. And even then, I decided not to take the subway. I was feeling so gross. I took a Lyft to get there and back. And when you take a Lyft and it's not rush hour from here to there, I mean, it's about 2 miles, so it takes very little time to get there. Anyhow, so I thought today what I'd do is kind of show you some of my previous projects. It's by no means all of them, but some of them are fun. And you can kind of see my knitting, how my knitting has changed, or different things I've done, and the kind of colors I've used in the past. So I'm going to show you my very, very first shawl that I made. This is the Hitchhiker Shawl by Martina Bem. It's a very shallow shawl that has kind of those, like, teeth. Now, those of you that are paying attention might notice that the teeth don't seem all the same size. So I renamed it my Wayward Hitchhiker Shawl. And there's even a couple places where I wasn't paying attention. I was such a new knitter. I couldn't even read my knitting at that stage. I mean, this was like maybe my fourth project that I started. And I think there's a couple places where, or at least one place where there is a row. Yeah. And I didn't know. It's right here. I don't know if you can see it. It might be hard to see. But right there. I dropped a couple stitches and put them on backwards because I didn't know how to read the direction they should go on, and I tried it a couple times, and it's fine. It's knitting. It's fine. Anyway, it's a really nice yarn. I like the yarn. It had a very high twist to it. The yarn dyer is called Hitherto, and I got this yarn at there's an arts and crafts center in the Blue Ridge Parkway, on Blue Ridge Parkway, kind of near, it's called the Moses Cone. I think it's Moses Cone Arts and Heritage Center. And at the time, back in, I think it was 2015, they actually carried a yarn dyer at that arts and crafts center. So I picked it up there, and the colorway is called Thank Monet. And Monet, the artist. So I'm pretty sure it's based on some Monet type colors from his watercolors. Anyway, it's a nice shape, kind of more scarfy than shawl like, but it's nice and it's light, and it's really comfortable to wear. I've actually made another Hitchhiker shawl that I'm positive I added more rows for the teeth on that as well, and I did that with minis and gave that as a present to my daughter. I think it was this last year, actually, when I was knitting all the gift knitting. But anyway, this was like my first shawl. The next shawl I'm going to show you, I made also it was probably 2016. And it's this shawl. This is a shawl by Helen Stewart called the 100 Acre Woods shawl, and I am a big Winnie the Pooh bear lover. I've read the books as an adult. Apparently when I was a small child, my parents chose the nursery theme of Winnie the Pooh, and I even remember what the mobile feels like. I grew up, I had a Winnie the Pooh that I had until fairly recently. I finally got rid of it because I just didn't want to travel with it to New York, and I'm sure it had a million dust mites on it. And I'm allergic to dust mites, so that's kind of a problem. But, yeah, so I chose the colors to be reminiscent, actually, of that old bear. So the gold color, I'm actually just going to pull up my notes in Ravelry on this project real quick. But the gold color, let's see, where are you in this? I have a lot of things I have to go through to find it in my Ravelry project page. I could search. How about that? 100. Help if I spell it correctly too. It's fun. Sorry. There we go. 100 Acre Woods Shawl by Helen Stewart. So the gold color is by MJ Yards, and it's an opulent fingering, which is 80% merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. This is actually, this was dyed, I believe it's dyed in Colorado, and it was dyed in a part of Colorado very close to actually where I went to school. I went to CU Boulder. And then the kind of the piglet color, this kind of peachy color that has like flecks of like, it has some yellow in it, and but it's definitely kind of a peachy color. This is done in conch shell by Dragonfly Fibers Pixie, which is another fingering weight yarn, and it's 100% merino, so there is no nylon in it. And you know, these two together definitely make kind of Winnie the Pooh and Piglet colors. I really love the fact that you have these little bumblebee type lace pattern in it. There's some stripes, and then there's a nice lace at the bottom and a picot edge. I think over time, you know, I haven't blocked it in a few years because I don't wear it all that often. So over time it has kind of shrunk back up, but you know, I had originally pinned it out, and I mean, the lace looks fine. But this is one of those shawls you could totally see that I used to wrap my yarn backwards. It becomes very laddery, and every single stitch is twisted. And I remember showing this. I used to go to this yarn store. It's actually where I learned to knit in Winston-Salem, and they'd have knit nights, and I would show my knitting to the ladies there who had been knitting 30 years. They're like, how do you get the definition on your stitches? Just twist your yarn the wrong way, and you will. But, you know, I became really fast at it. And the reason I twisted my yarn the wrong way for knitting is that's actually the way I throw my yarn for crochet. That's the direction I actually crochet, and my crochet tension is great. It's very even. It looks great. Crochet doesn't have the same properties as knitting, so you don't get ladders like this. So anywho, that's that shawl. When I wear it, I do tend to wear it, like that, which is a little bit more bulky. I have my winter coat is kind of like a rose pink, like a rose gold color. So I do wear this with that coat sometimes, or just on its own if it's like a crisp fall day or a spring day. It's really cozy, comfortable. And then sometimes I have been known to wear it as an actual shawl, like sitting in bed or sitting on the couch, out and about. I've worn it with dresses. So yeah, so the color choices were actually for the mood that I was trying to create with this shawl, to really pay homage to the fact that it is Winnie the Pooh inspired. And there's some mosaic knitting in here as well. Now in the pattern itself, there are multiple options on how you can knit this. You can knit it in 2 colors like I did. You can knit it, I think there's a 5-color version. Let's see. Yeah, there's a 5-color version, and there's a small version. So, that's in 1 color. And so I knit the large stripe version, and I actually would like to re-knit this. I think in the large gradient version, maybe using, some mini skeins in the future. I think that'd be really fun. I really did enjoy this knit. And I like the fact that Helen Stewart has that percentage system. It is so great when you're just like sitting there like, am I going to finish my project? Or is it going to go forever? Because sometimes these larger shawls can feel like forever. But, yeah, there's something about this one. There was just enough difference in things, and I really enjoyed it. So there's that shawl. The next thing we're going to talk about is a cowl I made. And this cowl, let's see. I've made quite a few cowls in my life. This is made out of sport weight grade. It's a sport weight gradient kit. I actually, when I saw the yard, I immediately went looking for patterns, and I absolutely fell in love with the pattern for this. And I knew I was gonna make it. I didn't make it for a long time though, because I had the yarn for a while in deep stash. And I knew what pattern I was gonna use, but it was one of those things. It was just not, happening. This is yarn by the Copper Corgi Fiber Studio in their Ogeechee Sport. I used basically all of the yarn. I think there was a tiny bit left. And the gradient kit was in Key Lime Island. And the pattern is called Hint of Autumn by Laura Ayler. And if you don't know Laura Ayler's designs, last name is spelled Aylor, I would highly recommend taking a look at them. Her designs are really beautiful. She has something for everybody. And during Advent, she actually comes up with a thing where you knit it for yourself. It's a mystery knit along. And I've done them before, and they use some really cool pattern, like really cool different patterns throughout the knit along to keep you interested. And it's usually something that you can finish very easily within the time. So let me just pop this over my head without glasses on so they don't get caught. But yeah, it's a simple cowl that it functions like a shawl that you put around your neck, except you don't actually have to wrap it around your neck. Yeah, and so there it is. And there's apparently a stain on it. I probably need to wash this. I haven't washed this in a while. But yeah, I really like the colors. This lacy pattern was really fun to do too. It's pretty simple. Yeah, I basically would just knit pretty much until I ran out of the yarn. I was about out of the yarn, and then I would change it. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors, I believe, 5 or 6 colors in this. Actually, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 6. There's actually 6 colors in this. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, up here there are 3 colors being used. And then when you get further down, there's more. Yeah, so that's that one. So again, that's Hint of Autumn by Laura Ayler. I know you can find all these patterns on Ravelry. Not sure who has moved off of Ravelry. So if you can't use Ravelry, I'm really sorry. But you can probably look on Etsy or just do a search for the designers and see what they do. Another pattern by Laura Ayler that I knit, and I also had yarn for this for a while. Absolutely loved the idea of doing this. I came across at that local yarn store. It doesn't exist anymore. There was, she carried different yarns that nobody at the time in that part of North Carolina was carrying. Sorry, I'm trying to, there it is. So she was carrying hedgehog fibers. And she was the first person in that part of North Carolina that was carrying hedgehog fibers. And when I saw this color, I just went, what? That is nuts. That is amazing. And I lived in the Carolinas, and I think it was probably around summertime. And I saw this pattern on Ravelry, again by Laura Ayler. It's called Lightning Bugs. And so what it represents is actually lightning bugs going through the dark at night. So you have like the path of a lightning bug as it flashes on and off. I just thought this was like the coolest idea. And I really loved these lightning bugs, this pattern here. That is so fun to make. You can see it again here. And I do actually wear this shawl a lot. I've like left it at the office because, it's so graphic. It's easy to pair with black. And, New Yorkers, we wear a lot of black. I'm a musician too, so I wear a lot of black. And let's face it, it's just black is easy. So, yeah, this is a great shawl. I've worn it with black dresses as an actual shawl going out because it's really long. Yeah, it's great. Okay, so the yarn. So we have hedgehog fibers in, I think it's banana legs. So mostly yellows with these pops of kind of like a neon to even darker green. You see that? And then the other color, this is, I think it's Araucania Huasco sock, hand painted. So yeah, there's a lot of this. She carried this yarn too. It's a really great yarn. It's very squishy. It's really fun to work with. I have a lot of colors of this yarn in my stash. Well, I have like blue and like an emerald green, and then I had this. I know I had these. I may have some more. So this was in the carbon colorway. So it's black speckles with gray. And it just reminds me of like the night sky. So I thought this would be really beautiful to make, and it really was. This was a pleasure to make. Instructions were great. I love this part. This was a really fun part. This kind of slip stitchy section here with the pops of the black and the neon. That was really fun to do. I mean, I didn't really get bored because the other thing too is you use short rows. Let me show you. To do this, you have to use short rows to create the movement of the lightning bug through space, right? So it doesn't go in a straight line. And I'm going to show you the back because the way the yarn is carried, you can kind of see what happens with the short rows, that it actually creates these waves and dips. So you're not carrying the yarn the whole time. So it's not double weight the entire time. It's only double weight in a couple places. So it's really, really, really fun to do. It creates a really beautiful finished object. So this is a place where, you know, you can take a neutral, like I could imagine like a navy blue with like some sort of pop, like serious color pop, like neon yellows or neon pink or orange or green, or even like a shocking, like really bright blue or a turquoise. I mean, it could make something beautiful. You know what else would be really cool is to do a heavily variegated, like neon-esque kind of yarn for the lightning bugs with a very, very either dark gray or black or something like the darker color I have here. I mean, the sky's the limit, but you know, it's really, really graphic and really fun. Like every time I've worn the shawl, everybody's like, what is that? You know, because it is interesting and it's different. Okay, so next I'm going to briefly show you this was an advent knit that I made for myself. And it's really funny because I messed it up, and so it ended up changing the shape. That's okay, because it's still super squishy and lovely and fun. So basically I knit, it was, sorry, I think it's the Adventurous. Let me find it. Yeah, the Adventurous wrap in 2020. So if you take a look at it, is this the one that I did in 2020? Hold on. I did two of them. That's not the one. I did one the right way. Okay, this is the one from 2019. So the one in 2020 I gave to a friend, and what's interesting is that friend then proceeded to leave it out, and her roommate's dog destroyed it. But the one I have here is a really nice one that I made for myself. So this used 2 advent calendars in 2019 and some leftovers from past projects. I basically just used whatever I wanted to make this thing and knit on it. I actually did finish it right in January of 2020, so I actually did knit on it pretty consecutively and consistently and didn't work on anything else. I wasn't trying to do a lot of gift knitting. Wow, I may have to fix that. I've got a pulled stitch. It's fine. I can fix that. That's easy. Anyway, just means I need to knit another one. So it uses the 2019 Nora George 12 Days of Christmas calendar, as well as the 2019 Sweet Sparrow Yarns Advent calendar. And then a lot of leftovers from my stash. So with the Adventurous wrap, it's supposed to be more of, I'm trying to think of what it's supposed to look like as far as the shape. It's more like a parallelogram, you know, like one triangle goes one way and the other one goes the other way, so that it like looks like a parallelogram where there's, you know, it's kind of like this rectangle that's stretched out. But when I put it together, I was tired and trying to rush through it. And lo and behold, I basically connected the things in the wrong place and created this giant triangular shaped shawl. You know what? It is absolutely fine with me because I'm very happy with it. The designer's Amber O'Brien. And I will say, I learned from when I did the second one, I'm not someone that really likes to repeat patterns, especially so close together, like from one year to the next. The next year, I was so bored of this pattern because there was nothing new. It was too repetitive from having just done it about a year, less than a year prior. So that one was a harder slog and it took me longer to finish. Whereas this one, I actually finished pretty fast because I was excited about it. But anyway, I use this all the time. It sits on the back of my chair that's right over here. If I get chilly, I just put it on, I can put it on my lap. I can wear it like this. I do often, I have taken this on trips with me. So that if I need something to cozy up with, I have it. I wear it like this a lot. I have worn it as on really cold days in New York. I have actually worn it like this. And then tucked it into my jacket. And I've gotten a lot of compliments on this just because the colors are incredible. And there's a lot of different textures in here because Sweet Sparrow, Julie from Sweet Sparrow, she uses a lot. When she does her advent calendar, she doesn't just choose like one yarn base. She gives you lots, like at least that year, she gave lots of different types of yarn bases so that you got lots of different types of textures you could add into your advent advent projects. And so that was really nice. Yeah, there's like some sparkle in here and some other colors. So yeah, I really enjoyed this knit. The one I did in 2020 was exclusively out of the Legacy Fiber Arts 2020 advent calendar. And I did really enjoy it, working with the yarn. The yarn was beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with the pattern at all. And I was able to connect it the proper way and everything. But for some reason, this triangular shape just worked for me that year, and that's fine. And then I did it right the next year, so at least I know I can do it correctly. So yeah, that's another one. And then the last project I wanted to show you, I did knit two of these, but they looked very different. And I'll try to put a picture of the second one I did in here. It was actually the very first one I did. So I knit this, basically two teddy bears, one for my daughter and one for my son, and they look very different, and they are made with different weights of yarn. This one's my son's, and it's called the big teddy with overalls, and I will insert a picture of my daughter's. So we wait for it. But as soon as my son saw my daughter's, he grabbed it and started hugging it, and he wanted it. I was going to make him a squirrel, actually, out of this this was leftover yarn. I'll talk about it in a second. But I was going to make him a squirrel, and he didn't want a squirrel. He wanted a teddy. He was very adamant about that. He loves stuffies that I make for him. I like to make the little dragon pattern by Susan B. Anderson. I think I've made 4 of those, and 2 of them became his. One was supposed to be for me, and he immediately adopted it. And then the second one, it was like half a skein of sock yarn that he loved in peacock colors. And he is obsessed with peacocks, specifically the NBC peacock. He really likes logos, and he likes to watch like old animations of the NBC logo of the peacock from the 60s on YouTube. And he draws it. At the time, he was drawing it a lot. So I made this thing for him that was a peacock, and he named it Peacock. But this one is his Teddy. He calls it Teddy. And it's very loved, you can see. The eyes are a little bit too small for the weight of the yarn. And it's a little, the gauge isn't the best. But he's utterly charming and very sweet. He did not want any clothes on it because I offered to knit him some clothes and overalls, just like I did for his sisters. But I was going to use different colors, not probably. I think I was going to use like navy blue. I had navy blue and green. And I was going to embroider on it like a tree or something. But no, he did not want that. So it has different types of eyes. It has just like those brown safety eyes. I mean, those black safety eyes. The like, just the little buttony ones. The ones I put on my daughters are like actual like, they look like eyeball eyes. And then the face looks very different. It's amazing what happens when you're stuffing these stuffies. You can make them have like different characters. Like every single one of the little dragons I made have a different character. The way you sew on the ears can give it a different character. This guy's a little wonky on his ears, but he's super adorable and cute. He still plays with him, and that means mostly he just grabs him and hugs him and sleeps with him and stuff. So the yarn I used for this was leftover yarn. It was really nice yarn. I thought I was going to be using more of that yarn for a project I made for my dad, but it turned out I didn't need it. So this is the Fiber Company Erinmore yarn in the Cronin colorway. And I believe this is, it's a discontinued yarn, but it was made, it was 80% merino, 10% silk, and 10% cashmere. So this is a very luxurious little bear. But it is, it's also really sweet. And, it's a little rustic, actually, for the fact that there's silk and cashmere in here. It's a little rustic. And what was interesting, when I was knitting with it, I found, like, vegetal matter in there. Like a little bit of hay and stuff, and that was cool. That was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. I just thought it was interesting. But it can feel rustic, but it's not harsh at all. It just is a little bit, it's not something I'm going to sit there and go like this all night, but my son doesn't have any wool sensitivities, but it's squishy, and he's sweet, and that's all that matters. So those are some of my projects from the past. I hope you enjoyed. Teddy hopes you enjoyed too. Anyway, we hope you have a good night, and hopefully I'm feeling better tomorrow so I can get out and about. Bye.